try to, slow the growth of the cancer cells or kill them. And so we want to simultaneously support the immune system while we do this. And as a functional medicine, doctor as well, I believe that, through, laboratory testing, we can also look to see how somebody's nutrient status is and their gut microbiome and their hormone axis, the HPA, stress hormone axis, look, their inflammatory markers, their insulin sensitivity markers. Those things are all things that are kind of, part and parcel for what we do as functional medicine doctors in general. But it really pertains also, I think, very, very well to, this sort of holistic approach to, treating our patients who have cancer. And so, Thomas Seyfried, really has, kind of come up with this ketogenic approach, where you remain on a ketogenic diet, very strict ketogenic diet. You are absolutely to be testing to make sure that you are in nutritional ketosis. And, do you test for your blood?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I started testing a month ago.
Huh?
And I put everything on an Excel, calculating the GKI.
Great. Perfect.
And send it to you.
Yeah. No, you don't need to send it to me. But just as long as you're in that good therapeutic ketosis range, then that would be sort of in line with Dr. Seyfried. My one caveat on that, and you may very well know this, is that therapeutic ketosis often leads to nutritional deficiencies, just because the diet tends to be so restrictive. If you do testing, you'll see if you are nutriently depleted or not, because that's really critical. It's something that we can do for you in Europe if you are interested, if that's where you're mostly residing, or we can do it when you're in the United States. So that's something that's totally possible to do. And if you don't want to do testing, there's an approach that we can do using tracking with Chronometer, the app Chronometer, to look to see, what your nutrient status is over time. It's an estimate, it's not precise, but it gives you an idea through the diet that you're doing, where you're deficient. Have you ever used Chronometer?
I prefer to test. It's no problem.
Okay.
I can easily go over 2 in ketones, millimoles.
Yeah.
I went to 4 the other day on the 4th day,
Wow.
but I was almost fainting. But the glucose, I have a hard time going under 80.
Yeah.
Sorry, may I add? And the index in the published study from Seyfried says you need to get the index at 1 or below, and Pedro hit the index.
No, it's 2 or below.
No,
It's 2 or below.
that's
sorry.
ketones. We're mixing ketones versus index.
No, Connie, 2K is 2 or below.
Okay.
1 is extreme.
Yeah. So, basically my thought is to be in sort of a nutritional ketosis state where you don't necessarily have to be so deep into ketosis. Now, of course, when you're doing your fasting, you're going to get there. That's not going to be probably too difficult for you. But in general, you don't need to be so deep into ketosis, as that's just not really easily compatible with, being physically active and mentally, focused for a long period of time. So, okay, so that's just sort of the general, physiological state that you want to kind of maintain. And it sounds to me like you're
sorry, you made a good point about measuring the nutrients, because he became deficient with potassium, which resulted in a big vomiting and diarrhea episode. And then he realized it was potassium. He took the supplement. His heart was racing. It was really bad. He got that sorted, but he's also anemic right now too. So,
which
yeah, and certainly that can be part of leukemia, but also yes, absolutely, that can be due to nutritional deficiencies, which is one of the main ways that I like to try to manage that is by trying to make sure that we've optimized all the nutrients. So to do the nutrient testing, if you find somebody local who can do it, that's great. Otherwise, we can do it through the website. I have multiple different, functional medicine tests that can be done in Europe or again in the United States. And my coordinator, her name is Katie. Anytime that somebody purchases one of those functional tests, or if they buy the bundle package, which is what most of my patients will do, and if you look at the lab drop down, you'll see that in the menu option. What will happen is Katie will connect with you guys and virtually, and then she'll help you get all the testing done wherever you're at. So that's something that you can do. And then that bundle also includes an hour-long lab review, so we can go through that afterwards if you want to do that. Otherwise, you can do a la carte, testing various specific things you want to do. Okay, so that aside, kind of back to, just sort of the general, press pulse. So for me, I really actually am less of a, I'm less of a press pulse person, as more of, let's just constantly hit the cancer using a variety of different mechanisms. And so Jane McClellan, she really does she's done a really great job, for a lay person being able to put together at least, the three main pathways. And the COC protocol, of course, kind of goes through that. I'm not a fan of the antibiotic. Okay, so just, doxycycline is not my thing. And I don't really like to have patients on the antibiotic just because it does really wreck the gut microbiome. And I know there's strategies to try to protect it. I really don't believe that they're strong enough strategies to protect it against an antibiotic. So the other compounds I think are reasonable, for in the COC protocol. But let me go to what I generally recommend, because mine's a little more robust, because I also like to hit the immune support, apoptosis support, and metastasis support. And while leukemia is technically metastatic, it's also something we need to be hitting no matter what. And I think we need to be doing this all the time, not just in a press pulse situation, because we can do this gently with dietary supplements, with nutrients. And so that's kind of what I generally lean towards, rather than the pharmaceuticals. So I guess maybe that might be better for you too, because you probably are more in line with that philosophy as well. Because if we can use nature, natural compounds, let's try to lean towards that approach. Does that sound okay to you?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Okay.
I'm
great.
already taking almost everything. I know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's okay.
Like garlic, curcumin, thyme. Everything. I take about 40 supplements every day.
Okay.
And he sees
I put on the food.
And he sees a acupuncturist, a Chinese medicine as well over there. And but she thinks
every week.
Yeah, he sees her every week, and she thinks his liver is just struggling and it's too much. And she always wanted him to stop taking so many supplements. Anyway, but recently with the Jane McCullough, the ingredients, or sorry, those drugs that you just mentioned, every time he takes it after a fast, within a day, he seems to get inflamed.
Yeah.
And his other doctor said, don't take them all at once, just take one and then one, and let's figure out which one. But Pedro's always going to love the natural supplements too.
Yeah. And I agree with that approach, because, there's no way to know which thing is causing it, if all are taken at once. But, it's hard to do because, you're trying to hit this cancer at all different mechanisms. So you can introduce things. I mean, you're right on all sorts of things. But if one were to kind of follow my approach from the beginning, let's just say you came off of, everything, and then you just added one, and then the next day you then add another one. Now you're up to two, and then you keep doing that just to see which thing might cause that. But it sounds to me like, let me just go through sort of the compounds that I recommend. How about we do that? And then we can kind of go backwards, because you may very well be taking, quite a few of these. You guys have been on the websites, you've read the books, and so let's see what we can find that maybe, in line with that or different. So in the glucose pathways, just in general, you're already doing the dietary approach, you're already doing the exercise approach. So that's great. I like quercetin. So are you doing that?
I take quercetin.
Okay, good. So quercetin works in multiple portions of the pathways, mainly in the glucose side of the pathway.
May I ask how much quercetin you recommend?
Yeah, so let me tell you my approach to this, because this is gonna be a little bit vague, and it's purposefully vague. And that is basically that all of the dietary supplements, when we're combining them together, there is some sort of synergy, and I don't like to do high dose supplementation. So I'd like to use the lowest level that is on the bottle. That's how I generally do it. For every one of these supplements, I will take, for example, one supplement of quercetin. When it says there's a range, take 1 to 3 of these per day. I just say take one, because you're going to be adding another one, and then another one, and another one, and that's where that the acupuncturist is probably correct. I mean, there could very well be things that are causing inflammation due to problems in the liver. It's possible. You can also have problems with the kidney too, for excretion. So use the lowest level. That's what I recommend for all of these, and just take them. You can split them up. You absolutely can do take half of the glucose ones in the morning, half in the evening. You can do, there's all sorts of approaches, but these things are going to be floating around your body, for 24 hours. So whether you took them in the morning or in the afternoon, or you split them up 3 times a day, you're still going to get, the cancer cells are still going to be attacked by the mechanisms of these. So it's not going to be about a particular dose or a particular time of day. It's about, just really, frankly, convenience. Honestly, that's usually what I do. It's really convenience. So if you don't want to take 40 capsules all at once, then split them up twice a day. So you're taking 20 and 20, or split them up 3 times a day. So you're really dividing. And again, it doesn't matter which 3 or which 2 that you're going to be breaking up. There's sort of a general approach that I take with that, is that if the compound, like for example, quercetin tends to work mainly on the glucose pathway, then pathways plural. Then what I would actually do is if you're also taking, let's say, berberine, maybe you're taking curcumin and all sorts of other things that work on the glucose pathways. Maybe split those up, so that you're kind of just trying to mix that up throughout the day. So you're kind of hitting the glucose pathway maybe twice a day. But if convenience is a factor, which for me it would be, I end up just taking them all at one time. So that's what I usually do, because I just don't have the time for splitting things up.
Yeah, berberine, I do the same. I take 1 of each in the morning altogether, or just a little bit spread during the first meal. Mm-hmm. I'm doing 1 meal a day now to recover, but I'm not taking the berberine. Berberine is really works on me. Works more than metformin. Well, I take 1 gram of berberine, and it really takes me down.
Yeah.
So now I'm recovering from the fasting, so I don't take it. Of course, during fasting, I cannot take berberine. I die if I fast with berberine. Yeah. So maybe 1,000 is too much. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, generally, most people are doing 500 milligrams of berberine. Kind of a similar dose as some people would take if they were taking metformin. They're very, very similar mechanism. And it can be very hard on it, because it's very hard on the gut. It's an alkaloid, so it's also hard on the liver. So, just berberine in itself, I would probably take the lower dose on that. And the bottle should tell you. It should say, take 1 to 3 of these a day, and I would just take 1. And as you said, when you're fasting, probably not the best time to be doing berberine.
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of the statin, so I generally recommend taking red yeast rice instead. Are you on that one? Okay.
I've been taking that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would just be, again, low dose once a day. Traditional Chinese medicine compound called Dan Shen, DAN-SHEN. That one works in multiple portions of pathways. That one works in glucose, that works in glutamine, works in fatty acid. So you're hitting all three pathways with one compound.
Sorry, the red lease rice, that works on glutamine?
Red yeast rice.
Red
That one
yeast.
works on that works on glucose pathway, and it works on fatty acid pathway.
Okay. We haven't yet talked about glutamine, right?
Glutamine, the amino acid.
Yeah, we didn't.
Yeah. Well, we didn't specifically. Dan Shen works on that one, and berberine works on that one,
Okay.
and his curcuminazole also works on that one.
I've been boiling the curcumin
Uh-huh.
to increase the power. Do you think that's okay? To increase the absorption?
It should be just basically the best way to improve absorption of curcumin is to take it with fat.
Okay.
So that's really the better way to do it. And if you add a little bit of black pepper in your, piperine, it further increases absorption.
Okay.
So that's another way to kind of get that going. 500 milligrams of curcumin is probably fine. Yes, people can go all the way up to 5 grams of curcumin a day. But again, let's just try to keep everything down on the lower end. In terms of, let's go further into the glutamine pathway. So melatonin, works both in glucose, but also works in glutamine. And so that one is 20 milligrams. I said I wasn't going to give you doses, but that's the dose I usually recommend is 20 milligrams once a day. Other things that work in the glutamine that I tend to like is artemisinin.
Artemisia annua?
Yes, that's the same concept, same. One's artesunate and one's artemisinin, but it's Chinese wormwood, so they're just all the same compounds. Basically.
Yeah. I take it on powder. I have bags of powder.
Yep.
I put it in the coffee in the morning.
Okay.
Put about half a teaspoon or half a coffee spoon.
Okay. Yeah, that was like a chemo drug, by the way. So Chinese wormwood they actually use as if it were a chemo. So it's not just going to be working in the glutamine pathways. It should also work in the apoptosis pathway. Another thing that I really like comes from Eastern Indian medicine. Ashwagandha.
Yeah, ashwagandha I tried, but I'm very sensitive to lectins, like to tomatoes and ashwagandha activates arthrosis.
Okay, well then forget it.
Try this, but I can try again.
Yeah, okay, try it again, but I'm not wedded to that. You don't have to do that. That's one thing. The nice thing about that one is it has some other pathways that it works on. Also is an immune support, very good immune support too.
Which one?
Ashwagandha.
Oh, the ashwagandha, yeah. Because it's a nightshade, right? The ashwagandha.
Is it nightshade family? I forget. I don't know. You know better. I'm sure you know better than me since you had a reaction to it. So you probably did some research on it.
Yeah.
But I use it often as an immune support. But it just also happens to work in the glutamine pathway.
Okay.
Now let's go to fatty acid pathway. So for me, I tend to use hydroxycitrate, from Garcinia cambogia, the little fruit.
Sorry,
It's called
could you repeat that one?
Yeah, absolutely. Hydroxycitrate.
I remember reading that one too.
From Garcinia.
Yes.
Garcinia, remember? You just got it from me, Garcinia.
Yeah, I remember
They just
that
told
one.
me to get it. I'm taking it.
That's probably the best one in the fatty acid pathway, actually. But you got some other stuff going on there too. We've already mentioned his berberine, the Dan Shen I mentioned already. Those also work in that same pathway. The red yeast rice also works in that pathway. Another thing that works in that pathway that I also love for immune support is turkey tail. So, turkey tail mushroom.
Turkey tail.
Turkey tail.
So turkey tail. Okay, and you know the name in Latin?
No.
No. Okay.
It's a mushroom?
Yes.
You eat it, or is it like a supplement, like to make tea or something? Or a pill?
Well, it's better just to take it as a supplement.
Okay.
Easy, much more convenient, because you're going to be taking it every day. And that one works on the also that really powerful for immune support.
What do you think of the Coriolus versicolor?
Also,
I recommend here.
Yeah, no, Coriolus versicolor. I don't remember which mushroom that was, but yeah, that's also in the immune support pathway. And so for me, let me just kind of my philosophy on mushrooms, particularly in somebody who has leukemia, is that this would be one where we might want to not take it all the time. That might be one where the mushrooms, you may want to do like a 1 week on, 1 week off, 1 week on, 1 week off. And just because you don't want to overstimulate the immune system. Now it's interesting because leukemia, a lot of the really excellent therapies that are now used in oncology are immunotherapies. So they're using it every day. So basically, you're getting an immunotherapy every day for it's an injection. So it's going to be floating around the body, stimulating the activation of your immune system every day. But maybe that if we can do it with more of a on-off approach, I think that would make more sense. Just because again, we don't need to overstimulate things.
Yeah.
And that
what
goes
about the fast?
Which?
The fasting is also on and off.
Yeah.
What do you think is the ideal length of fasting?
So you apparently are seeing interesting results in your blast count when you're doing your fasting. My concern with fasting and my concern with the one meal a day is your protein intake. And I generally recommend that everybody try to get around 1 gram, at least 1 gram per pound of their body weight. For their ideal body weight. And I'm sure you're very, very close to that. So 1 gram per pound is hard to get if you're only eating 1 meal a day. And so that's my concern with fasting in general, and my concern with OMAD, 1 meal a day. And so you do want to make sure, because when we test you for your nutrients, we're going to look at your amino acid status, and we'll see each of your amino acids. If I see even one amino acid that's low, I don't care about albumin. I care about the individual amino acids. Albumin is sort of like a general marker for protein status, and it's not very useful to me as a functional medicine doctor. I really want to be more fine detail, and because every one of those amino acids is absolutely critical, to so many physiological processes. So 1 gram per pound should get you there. And, for your protein, what is your main protein sources?
It's meat, fish, and eggs.
Beautiful. Love it. Great. You're ready.
I take every morning. Mm-hmm. When now that Con is not here, I eat 6 eggs a day from organic
free range
source from the farm.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've been taking a big beef of liver every morning. Otherwise, I take something else, fish,
mm-hmm.
or meat.
And you make a big mushroom dish.
And I cook with lard.
Great.
I try not to use any oil.
Okay.
I use only olive oil, but not for cooking.
Okay, fine.
I do take a lot of olive oil, but real olive oil from Portugal. So
Great, wonderful.
Thank you.
Just now, just make sure you're getting enough protein. That's all on that 1 gram per pound. So try to figure that out. See and make sure you're doing
Okay.
that. So when it comes to the fasting, I would say that if you're in ketosis, to me, that's the stress enough on the cancer cells. More stress on the cancer cells than 99.9% of people are going to be doing. And so going into an additional fast, that's just it's just harder to get all the nutrients you need in the entire day when you do that. So that's my concern, my philosophy. I used to be much more in favor of fasting. I kind of evolved beyond that just because of my, now the years of testing people who are, healthy, like you, maybe not as healthy as you, but, trying to be. And I find that nutrient deficiencies in my healthy patients are ubiquitous. Everyone, has them. So if you're fasting, it's going to be worse. It's going to be just harder. Not that you can't do it. It's just harder.
I can do it.
Okay.
What do you think of doing a 1 month fasting? Do you think it's dangerous?
Yeah, I do. I think that's going to be a massive protein depletion, nutrient depletion. I just don't recommend that. You're gonna.
So what's the maximum you recommend?
I'm no longer recommending fasting.
You don't recommend fasting?
No, I don't recommend fasting. I recommend basically carbohydrate restriction, which gets you to the same goal that you're trying to achieve.
Okay.
So apoptosis is going to happen through, ketogenic diet because your cancer cells are so dependent on glucose. So you're already stressing them out every day. And then you're adding on all of these nutritional, supplements that are going to also enhance apoptosis and the immune system's, activity. There's some data certainly that look at, mainly in mice that look at, basically the anti-cancer effectiveness of putting these mice on a fasting diet. And yeah, absolutely. The mice seem to do better. But this is so different for a human being. You're going to lose too much muscle. And you can't really do that. You can't do that. You know how hard it is to gain muscle. It's really, really, really hard. As we get older, our we become anabolically resistant. It's harder for us to take that protein and convert it into muscle. And you've worked so hard to maintain that muscle mass, clearly, just by looking at your shoulders. And you've obviously worked very hard to maintain that. So you don't want to lose that. That is your reserve to help you fight against your cancer. It's your reserve that gives your immune system, the strength that it needs. Clearly, that has been a big help for you. There's no question about it. Most people are not as fortunate to have that muscle mass as you.
Well, I lift every day.
Yeah,
I lift every day, and I've been going for a walk every day. Mm-hmm. I think yesterday was the first day I couldn't.
Yeah.
I've been doing very short walks lately, only like 1 mile. But until a month or two ago, I used to do 5 miles a day of walk. Yeah,
it's going to be harder for you. Just I think that probably you're depleting yourself, and that's why your energy levels are really going down.
Do you think I should take iron?
Not unless you actually have iron deficiency anemia, which is only really able to be determined based upon lab testing for iron for serum ferritin levels. If your serum ferritin is low, then you probably do.
The ferritin is high. It's always high.
Yeah,
but it could be also a defect.
Yes, correct.
And not from the iron.
Correct, and that's probably more likely than me, particularly with you eating the meat and the liver. I suspect you're doing just fine on your iron levels.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you don't recommend fasting, do you still recommend 1 meal a day or
no?
Or 2 meals a day? 2 meals a day?
I recommend however many meals a day. I recommend just however many meals a day it takes you to get in that protein. For me, protein is number one. So if you're able to do that in one meal a day, then continue to do it. No problem with that, because if that helps you with your ketosis, I'm totally fine with that. You know, that makes you feel better.
Berberine? Do you think I should take berberine on a continuous basis?
Yes, I think you should take berberine on a continuous basis if you're not fasting.
Okay.
And only 500 grams to cut back.
500 milligrams, yes.
Yeah, I bought 1,000, so I'll cut it. I'll open it and.
Yeah.
Okay, and which protein do you think is the best? The meat, the fish, or the eggs? Which one should I give more?
It doesn't matter. Those are all fantastic sources of protein. So
okay. What about pork?
Also good.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. I'm here in Portugal. We have organic pork.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have no problem with all. Those are great Mediterranean sources of protein. I love that. It's good.
I have a question.
What about
Sorry, Pedro.
low glucose fruit?
Yeah.
What do you like? Berries or strawberries? Do you think it's okay after the meal, or
it's fine?
Not touch it?
Well, it's fine as long as you're able to maintain your ketogenic state.
So how low do you think ketosis? What, do you go by ketosis, or you go by ketones, or by GK1?
Yeah, so generally, I would just look at your ketone levels. You know, that's because sure, you can calculate like C3 does and look at the glucose ketone index. But I just think, just for simplicity, just look at what the Keto Mojo or whatever meter you're using.
We have that. So what should he keep his ketones at? What should be his goal?
Probably anything over like 2.
Over 2. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a comment. I heard Seyfried say what he would do if he had cancer.
Yeah.
He said he would stop eating until he got to his index of 1. Then he said he would transition to a nutritious high-fat ketogenic diet, which I think goes with what you're saying. He would eat nutritious but try to be ketogenic, anything that kept him in that index of 1. And then he said he would add 3 things: 2-deoxyglucose, 3-bromoprimate, and oxaloacetate with hyperbaric oxygen. But he didn't say which drug he would use to block glutamine. I guess he would snag some Dawn out of his laboratory.
Yeah, and so all of those compounds are a little risky. 2-deoxyglucose is quite risky on the brain, for example. Let me just back up one quick second. I won't spend much time on this, but think about your mitochondria. Okay, your mitochondria you need to power your immune system. You need them for your brain. You need them for your heart. All of the energy in your body. For all of your normal cells. We don't want to negatively impact the normal processes in the body. And unfortunately, Seyfried's philosophy is going to, is not going to protect the normal cells. It is going to cause problems over time. And so, one good example of this is there's a lot of healthy people who are taking metformin, for longevity reasons. And metformin, if you're already metabolically healthy, as you are, this is just an example, just one compound example. If you're metabolically healthy already, metformin has been shown to decrease VO2 max. You don't want to do that. And why does it do that? Because it's a very mild mitochondrial toxin. And so if you're healthy, you're going to impair your aerobic capacity. And so the same concept goes with anything that is going to potentially impact the normal cells of your body. So I want your immune system, again, I keep focusing to this immune system, but I really want your immune system to be, doing the best job it can at fighting these leukemia cells. And so we can't deplete their capacity to do what they have to do. We have to gently cause stress to the system, but we don't want to block entirely those normal processes, as Seyfried really is trying to promote. And that's why he does the press pulse, is because his philosophy is, okay, and why I don't do it is more because, he feels that if you just hit the cancer cells, the press, or the pulse, and then you put the person back on, so take off those compounds and then let them heal, essentially, and then pulse again, that you're going to heal. But I don't know that you're going to heal fast enough. And so, that's where, I just have a problem with that philosophy.
Well,
So
he does say it's so important to work with the doctor that can know you and what your dosing should be. So that's why we tried so hard to find someone. You.
Yeah. This Thomas Seyfried's he is very opinionated. It's his way or the highway. And if you listen to any of his podcasts, or where he's being interviewed by all sorts of really great people, he kind of goes off the rails. Like, he always goes off the rails. Like, he just goes nuts. And so I get it. This is where his laboratory is focused. This is his whole life's work. And he's a huge supporter, obviously, of Warburg effect, but it's much more complicated than that. He knows that, but he's spent so much time in that camp. It's Warburg effect, that nothing else possibly could be more powerful than basically trying to block that work.
What do you think of vitamin C IV? I've been taking it once a week.
Mm-hmm. So, again, that's part of the pulse therapy and HBOT, same sort of situation. Ozone therapy. They're all sort of in line with that same thing. I have not personally seen any good data on the IV vitamin C, and how easy that is to get. Any laboratory can do IV vitamin C work. And there just has not been any quality data whatsoever showing a positive benefit, aside from just patients say they feel better when they get IV vitamin C. Nothing on the laboratory values, nothing on the cancer outcomes. It's just, so you don't. So to me, it's a placebo effect.
Okay, and the ozone therapy, same thing.
Yeah, same thing. Again, that one's actually worse because now we have no data on that one whatsoever.
And what about chlorine dioxide, CDS?
I don't know. But again, that's probably because of the chlorine and dioxide. That would be the same.
Yeah, it's an oxidizing.
Yeah, it would be the same concept for me.
And what about the peroxide?
Peroxides?
Peroxide on the skin, the Gerson method. I tried it too. It didn't work very well.
Yeah. No, I'm not a Gerson person. I don't. We can dissect out the various portions of Gerson therapy. Certainly, the predominance of the plant-based diet. Great. I think that's great. The coffee enemas. That's antioxidants. That's basically what you're doing. You're flushing out, basically you're doing an enema. And you're filling the body with more antioxidants from the coffee. And both of those are good, things to have. But I don't think people need to do that. If you're pooping regularly, you're eating a nice plant, you're eating a lot of plants, you're getting plenty of antioxidants naturally. I don't think we need to do the Gerson method.
I have one more.
And taking a few drops of peroxide. Drink a few drops of peroxide, neither?
I don't think that's going to do anything.
Anything good? Okay.
No,
what about
I don't think it's going to do anything good or bad. I think it's
what about all the antioxidants like vitamin C, glutathione, resveratrol, astaxanthin? I'm taking all of those. and a lot of lycopene for my prostate.
Mhm.
I take overdose of lycopene.
Mhm.
Do you think all the antioxidants are okay, or?
Yeah, because they're dietary antioxidants. These are not pharmacologic antioxidants. So I don't think that there's going to be any problem. Your body's going to pee out, beyond what it needs. So, on the antioxidant status, there's those compounds you've mentioned have way more anti-cancer properties from the phytonutrients, having different mechanisms, anti-cancer mechanisms beyond their antioxidant, what they're known for being an antioxidant,
Okay. And what about vegetables? Do you think I should take a lot of vegetables or not? Only cabbage? Or?
If you're trying to stay in ketosis, you just make sure that you're staying with vegetables that still keep you in your ketosis.
So you think if I take, for example, too much broccoli or too much cabbage, or
I think it would be very hard for you to see too much rise in blood sugar with broccoli or cabbage. So the green, basically very fibrous vegetables, that are low glycemic, I think are going to be, you should be able to, with your protein, fat, and the fiber from all of those vegetables, and of course, herbs and stuff, you should be able to maintain into ketosis. And how much of the vegetables you should consume would be really dependent on your blood testing for the ketones.
Okay. And the celery, the celery from the medical medium, the celery juice, is that okay?
Yeah, celery is a natural diuretic. So, just have to be careful with that because ketosis already dehydrates people. So just be careful with that. But yes, the fiber, it really has not much nutritional value. There's just not a whole lot in there. But the fiber is certainly good.
Okay. And what about chocolate? Do you think it's okay? Anything under 100% chocolate?
I think, sure, have some chocolate if you want, but just recognize that of course, the obvious is the glycemic load.
Well, if I take 100%, it's okay for sure, no?
If it's just cocoa bean, yes, it's
Now,
okay.
he usually gets the bars that are at 90 or 95, and I get the ones at 85.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want to enjoy it. Yeah. So again, I don't mind chocolate at all, but I just the obvious.
The glucose.
Yeah.
What about phenylbutyrate to metabolize to bind to glutamine and eliminate in the urine?
That I don't know about.
Seyfried talked about that, specifically with blood cancers. I heard in one of his podcasts. He said phenylbutyrate, which metabolizes to phenylacetate, which binds to glutamine and eliminates in the urine.
I think so. I'm just not aware of that one. So what I'm more comfortable with would be some of the other compounds we've already got listed for him in the glutamine pathways.
Pedro, can you show him the bump on your chest? That seems to be growing.
Yeah, it's here. You see?
Yeah.
Your hand's there.
There.
Can you move? Yeah, move your hand.
Yeah.
You see it's a bump on his skin, and it's hard.
Think it's related to leukemia? No, doctor.
It would be
Like
a
a nodule.
very unusual leukemia, location.
He's had it for
Yeah,
I've been
over a month.
a lot of infections on the skin. I had more when my neutral white cells were low.
Yeah.
Went up, so now I don't have infections, but now I got this weird thing.
Yeah, it does not look like it's infected. So if it starts to get red around it, or
No.
yeah,
Just
if it does,
hard.
yeah.
It's just pretty hard. That's
Yeah.
all. But,
It's hard to say. It's really without really looking closely at it, but it doesn't look like it's an infection.
okay. What do you think of the bioresonance treatments? Do you think it's bullshit?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, let me say that. Let me back it up a little bit. With being a little less blunt. Sorry, let me just have my coffee to get my voice. So, in general, the philosophy of using oscillating electrical current across cancer has been shown to be effective. There are those machines like Rife machines and stuff like that, which I think are not effective. But in Israel, they use a device in order to stop and kill cancer cells, prevent them from dividing. And it is an oscillating electrical current device that is FDA approved in the United States called Optune. So we do use electrical current, but we don't use the body, the whole body. We apply electrical arrays if it's like a brain tumor. They're now using it for mesothelioma in the chest, where they apply arrays. They're using it for abdominal tumors, but it's got to be applied for 18 hours a day to have any effect. And these bioresonance things, you're not going to be sitting next to this thing and for 18 hours a day. We have to be more practical.
Yeah, and it's not electrical currents; it's just electromagnetic. Yeah. What about the sauna? I do sauna every day.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I lost the potassium, of course. So,
yeah.
Do you do it good?
Yes, it is good.
Okay. And do you recommend? I get in the cold ocean every day. I can show you the ocean here.
I figured you were at the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you think I should do more than that? Like do the what do they call it?
Cryotherapy?
Cryotherapy?
No, I think that probably if it's cold for you, jumping in that ocean, if it's
very cold.
Obviously, if it's really cold, great. Just a few minutes in there is probably all you need.
Okay, great. And the sauna, I do 15 minutes. Do you think I could get more benefits if I stay longer?
Depends on how hot the sauna is. Is it
very hot? Much hotter than any sauna in America.
Yeah, that's probably plenty.
Okay.
Good questions, honey.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're at our hour.
So what would you recommend? And you mentioned that if we did some nutrient testing, and you talked about an app chronometer, and that would we be able to do like a follow-up with you? What would you recommend, other than all the supplements that I took notes on?
Yeah, so I would recommend, if you're interested in doing the sort of the composite bundle package of functional testing, take a look at that, see if that looks reasonable to you in terms of what you guys are interested in looking at. This is part of my foundation of how I assess my patients. It's called the Optimized Health Composite Bundle. You won't be able to miss it. It'll be kind of down on the list.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen it on the site.
And then, if you purchase that, then I immediately send the email to Katie, my coordinator, and then she'll reach out to you guys, and then she'll help coordinate get this done in Europe or in the United States, wherever, and we'll go from there.
And then we would go from there, and then we would be having a future consultation with you, or would we be able to ask questions?
Yep. So that'll be an hour consultation review of the labs. And then what we'll do is kind of make recommendations based on those results.
Okay.
One more question. What do you think of sweet potato? Because there's some, it has carbs, but they say they're not absorbed. I'm not sure about it.
They are. They are definitely absorbed.
They're absorbed. So it's just like fruit. It's just like having fruit.
Yeah, it's just another starchy vegetable.
Okay. So no starches.
Yeah, I would just keep the starches, to the level where you're still in ketosis.
As long as I'm over 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the plan.
And coffee and tea?
No problem.
No problem.
Oh, he loves hearing that because I tell him he drinks too much coffee.
No. Enjoy your coffee.
You know what I put on the coffee now? Lard.
Good. Yeah. So you and Dave Asprey.
Yeah.
Bulletproof coffee. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But I put black Portuguese organic lard.
Sounds great. Man, sounds great.
Wild pig.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You guys take care.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.
Very
It's a
well.
pleasure to meet you.
Thank
Nice to meet you.
Thanks.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.